4. Explanation Chapter 4. Here is the revised version with the corresponding provisions for each explanation. Mastering limited partnerships in Philippine law. 1. Article 1843, Definition of limited partnership. A limited partnership is a partnership formed by two or more persons, consisting of at least one general partner and one limited partner. Legal basis, Article 1843, Civil Code of the Philippines. A limited partnership is one formed by two or more persons having as members one or more general partners, and one or more limited partners. Key to remember, limited partners are only liable up to the extent of their contribution and not for the partnership's general obligations. Example, a limited partnership could be established for a real estate venture where one partner is actively managing, general partner, and the other is a silent investor, limited partner. 2. Article 1844, Formation of a limited partnership. To form a limited partnership, the partners must execute and file a certificate that includes 1. Name with limited. 2. Business character. 3. Principal place of business. 4. List of partners and their contributions. 5. Rights and obligations of partners. Legal basis, Article 1844, Civil Code of the Philippines. A limited partnership must be created by an instrument in writing, signed by all the parties thereto, and acknowledged before a notary public or other authorized official, and shall be filed with the proper office. Key to remember, a partnership is formed upon substantial compliance with the requirements, even if not all are perfect. Example, a group of investors wants to start a tech startup and signs the required certificate detailing each partner's capital contribution, their share in profits, and the term of the partnership. 3. Article 1845, Contributions of limited partners. Limited partners may contribute cash or property, but not services. Legal basis, Article 1845, Civil Code of the Philippines. A limited partner can make contributions in money, property, or both. A limited partner shall not be allowed to contribute services. Key to remember, limited partners must make tangible contributions, cash/property, to avoid liability for business debts. Example, a limited partner contributes PHP 500,000 in cash to a manufacturing venture, making them liable only for that amount in case of partnership debts. 4. Article 1846, Surname of limited partners in the partnership name. A limited partner's surname cannot appear in the partnership name unless 1. It's also the surname of a general partner, or 2. The business is carried on under that name before. Legal basis, Article 1846, Civil Code of the Philippines. The surname of a limited partner shall not appear in the partnership name, unless it is also the surname of a general partner. Key to remember, limited partners should avoid being misidentified as general partners in the partnership name. Example, Smith & Company. Limited partnership would be permissible if there's also a general partner named Smith. 5. Article 1847, False statements in certificate. If a certificate contains false information, the person who knew it was false and signed it can be held liable. Legal basis, Article 1847, Civil Code of the Philippines. A limited partner who knew of the false statement and signed the certificate shall be liable to the same extent as a general partner. Key to remember, partners must ensure the certificate is accurate, or they can be personally liable for reliance on false statements. Example, if a general partner falsely states that a limited partner contributed PHP 1 million when only PHP 500,000 was contributed, the general partner can be held liable for the misrepresentation. 6. Article 1848, Control of the business. A limited partner will be held liable as a general partner if they take part in the control of the business. Legal basis, Article 1848, Civil Code of the Philippines. A limited partner who takes part in the control of the business shall be liable as a general partner. Key to remember, limited partners cannot actively participate in managing the business without risking personal liability. Example, a limited partner who becomes involved in daily decision-making could be held liable for partnership debts as a general partner. 7. Article 1850, Powers and restrictions of general partners. General partners have extensive powers but cannot take actions such as 1. Contravene the partnership certificate. 2. Confess a judgment against the partnership. 3. Admit new partners without consent. Legal basis, Article 1850, Civil Code of the Philippines. The general partners shall have the power to bind the partnership by any act within the scope of the partnership business, except that they shall not, without the consent of all the partners, do the acts prohibited by the partnership agreement. Key to remember, general partners must act within the limits of the partnership agreement. Example, a general partner cannot sell the partnership's assets to an unrelated third party without the consent of the limited partners. 8. Article 1851, Rights of Limited Partners. Limited partners have rights to inspect partnership records and to demand dissolution in certain conditions. Legal basis, Article 1851, Civil Code of the Philippines. A limited partner may inspect and copy the partnership books and records and may demand the dissolution of the partnership under the conditions provided by law. Key to remember, limited partners have the right to be informed about the business's performance and to request dissolution when necessary. Example, a limited partner might request the dissolution of the partnership if the general partners are mismanaging the funds. 9. Article 1856, Limited partners' share in profits. Limited partners are entitled to their agreed share of profits, but only if the partnership's liabilities are paid first. Legal basis, Article 1856, Civil Code of the Philippines. The limited partners shall share in the profits of the partnership, and shall be liable for the debts and obligations of the partnership only to the extent of their capital contributions. Key to remember, profits should not be distributed unless the partnership has sufficient assets to pay its creditors. Example, a limited partner in a retail partnership will only receive their share of profits after the store pays off its suppliers and operational costs. 10. Article 1858, Liabilities of Limited Partners. Limited partners are liable for the difference between their actual contribution and the stated contribution in the certificate. Legal basis, Article 1858, Civil Code of the Philippines. If the contribution of a limited partner is less than that stated in the certificate, the partner shall be liable for the difference. Key to remember, limited partners are required to fulfill their contribution commitments, even if they were not made. Example, if a limited partner's certificate states they contributed PHP 1 million, but they only contributed PHP 800,000, they will be liable for the PHP 200,000 difference. Conclusion. By understanding these key provisions, you can effectively master the concept of limited partnerships in Philippine law. Each article provides essential rules on the formation, operation, and dissolution of limited partnerships, as well as the rights and obligations of both general and limited partners. The provisions help define the legal relationship between partners, ensuring limited partners' liability is capped while maintaining the business's operational flexibility. Article 1858, Liability of a Limited Partner. Legal basis, Civil Code, Article 1858. Key points to remember. 1. Liability for difference in contribution. A limited partner must cover any shortfall between what was actually contributed and what was stated in the partnership certificate. 2. Liability for unpaid contributions. Limited partners are also liable for any unpaid contributions they promise to make in the future as stated in the partnership agreement. 3. Trustee for miscontributed property. A limited partner must hold any misreported or returned property in trust for the partnership. 4. Waiver of liability. A waiver of liability by the limited partner can only be done with the consent of all members, but it doesn't affect creditors' rights. Example. A limited partner agreed to contribute 500,000 Cuban pesos to the partnership but only contributed 450,000 Cuban pesos. In this case, the limited partner is liable for the difference of 50,000 Cuban pesos. If a limited partner is entitled to a return of capital but has received more than their share due to an error, they must return the excess to the partnership. Article 1859, Assignability of a limited partner's interest. Legal basis, Civil Code, Article 1859. Key points to remember. 1. Interest is assignable. A limited partner's interest can be assigned to another person, but this does not automatically make the assignee a partner. 2. Assignee's rights. If the assignee does not become a substituted limited partner, they can only receive the income or profit share that the assignor would have been entitled to. 3. Substitution process. To become a substituted limited partner, the assignee needs consent from all partners or the assignor must empower them to do so. Example. A limited partner assigns their interest to a relative. The assignee is entitled only to receive the share of profits unless all partners agree to make them a substituted limited partner, at which point they would gain full rights, including the ability to inspect books and participate in decision-making. Article 1860, dissolution due to a general partner's death, insolvency, or other circumstances. Legal basis, Civil Code, Article 1860. Key points to remember. 1. Dissolution triggers the death, insolvency, insanity, or civil interdiction of a general partner typically dissolves the partnership. 2. Exceptions. The partnership can continue if the certificate allows for it or if all members agree. Example. If a general partner of a law firm dies, the firm may be dissolved unless the certificate allows the remaining partners to continue business, or if all the members consent. Article 1861, death of a limited partner. Legal basis, Civil Code, Article 1861. Key points to remember. 1. Executor's rights. Upon death, the executor of the limited partner's estate has the rights of the deceased limited partner to settle the estate. 2. Liabilities of estate. The deceased partner's estate remains liable for their obligations to the partnership. Example. If a limited partner dies, their executor can claim any income or share of the profits that the deceased partner would have received but must also ensure the estate settles any outstanding liabilities of the limited partner to the partnership. Article 1862, court action against a limited partner's interest. Legal basis, Civil Code, Article 1862. Key points to remember. 1. Charging the interest. Creditors can go to court to charge the limited partner's interest in the partnership to satisfy debts. 2. Redemption of interest. The interest may be redeemed with the separate property of any general partner but not with partnership property. Example. If a limited partner is in debt and their interest in the partnership is charged by creditors, the creditors may seek to enforce payment through the limited partner's share in the partnership, but cannot use partnership assets to satisfy the debt. Article 1863, Order of Payment of Liabilities in Dissolution. Legal basis, Civil Code, Article 1863. Key points to remember. 1. Order of priority. In case of dissolution, the liabilities are settled in a specific order, starting with creditors' claims, followed by limited partners' claims for income and capital, then general partners' claims. 2. Proportional sharing. Limited partners share partnership assets in proportion to their claims for capital and profits. Example. If a partnership dissolves, the creditors are paid first, then limited partners receive their profit shares, followed by returns of capital, and finally, the general partner's capital contributions. Article 1864, Cancellation of a certificate. Legal basis, Civil Code, Article 1864. Key points to remember. 1. Cancellation trigger. The certificate must be cancelled when the partnership is dissolved or all limited partners cease to be such. 2. Amendment trigger. The certificate must be amended in specific cases like a change in the partnership's name or contribution structure, substitution or admission of new partners, or changes in the business character. Example. If a limited partner is substituted, the certificate must be amended to reflect the change. If the partnership changes its business from retail to manufacturing, an amendment to the certificate is required. Article 1865, Procedure for amending or cancelling a certificate. Legal basis, Civil Code, Article 1865. Key points to remember. 1. Amendment or cancellation process. The writing to amend or cancel the certificate must be signed by all members, and a court order can be sought if a member refuses to sign. 2. Court intervention. If necessary, a court can order the amendment or cancellation of the certificate. Example. If a limited partner refuses to sign an amendment to the partnership certificate to allow the substitution of a new partner, the court may intervene to facilitate the amendment. Article 1866, Limitation on parties in legal proceedings. Legal basis, Civil Code, Article 1866. Key points to remember. 1. Contributors' involvement in legal actions. A contributor, who is not a general partner, is generally not a party to legal proceedings by or against the partnership unless the case is to enforce the limited partner's right or liability to the partnership. Example: if a limited partner seeks to enforce a contractual right against the partnership, they would have to be involved in the legal proceedings, but in a lawsuit involving partnership disputes, a limited partner generally cannot sue or be sued on behalf of the partnership. Article 1867, Limited Partnership Transition. Legal basis, Civil Code, Article 1867. Key points to remember. 1. Transition from old law. A limited partnership formed under previous laws can transition to a limited partnership under the current law by complying with the requirements outlined in Article 1844. 2. Certification requirements. The certificate must include details like the original contribution of each limited partner and the sufficiency of partnership assets to meet liabilities. Example: a limited partnership formed before the effectivity of the Civil Code may amend its structure and certificate in accordance with the provisions of Article 1844 to comply with the new legal framework. This includes key points, examples, and the legal provisions relevant to Articles 1858 to 1867. Each article is linked to its specific rules for easier understanding and reference.